ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Here we are with another episode of The Shift with Gina. I'm happy that you all are here, and I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be here. There's really not much exciting news that I have to share in terms of what's going on in my life. I'm just pregnant. I'm just pregnant. Those of you moms out there who know very well what it's like to be pregnant, at a certain point when you're in the third trimester, it's just like, people ask you, how you doing? You're just like, I'm pregnant. I'm just pregnant. Everything just feels a little bit slower, just starting to slow down. I just got to that point in the pregnancy where I can't sleep through the night anymore. I'm getting up to pee once or twice a night, and now it's uncomfortable because the belly's bigger and have to sleep on my side. So that's really all that's new around here. Been potty training my daughter. It's been going pretty well. We haven't started to tackle the nap time or nighttime diapers yet, but we're just going to get her off of the diapers during daytime and then go from there. But that's about it. Just hoping we can make it through Pascha. Pascha is in the beginning of May. So our Easter, the Orthodox Easter, is a little bit later than the Western calendar. So I'm just hoping that I can make it through Pascha before I deliver. I don't know. I don't want to deliver before Pascha. Definitely don't want to deliver during Lent. Our Lent starts in, I think, 10 days, or is it 13 days? Something like that. So just getting ready for Lent and trying to figure out what I'm going to be giving up, what my fast is going to look like, because pregnant or breastfeeding, you can't follow the strict fast, because the strict fast is no meat, no eggs, no dairy. No meat, no eggs, no dairy. And that's like everything nutritious that you need during pregnancy and postpartum and breastfeeding. So there are definitely other ways to participate in the fast. So I just have to get that figured out. I'm going to be meeting with my priest in about a week to kind of go over some options and see how I can still participate in the fast, even though I am very, very pregnant. Today, speaking of pregnancy, we're going to talk today about this headline news of the abortion pill being made available at CVS and Walgreens at various clinics around the United States. Not all states, but some states to start, select locations. And we'll talk about what that news means, what it actually means, how it's actually going to pan out in terms of women's health, even though, abortion has nothing to do with women's health, but in that umbrella, we'll talk about how it's being hailed as this big moment of reproductive rights and reproductive justice for women across America. I particularly despise that term, reproductive justice. I mean, I think any of those like sort of progressive justice terms like social justice and climate justice and reproductive justice, those are particularly irritating words because they mean nothing and people use them as if they mean everything. And then we're also going to talk a little bit more today about abortion in general, how our society approaches it, how I think the right sort of fails to approach it in a useful way, and why so many women are more supportive of abortion than ever before. Over the last couple of decades, just the last decade or two alone, more and more women have been coming out in droves to support abortion. And it's really not that surprising why when you see how our culture has framed abortion. But it's a really sad thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and ask the question, what can we do now that the abortion pill is being more normalized and being made more accessible to women across the country? What can we do in the wake of these tragedies? But before we get into everything, as always, we got to talk about our incredible sponsor today, Charlize Skincare. Look at these beautiful glass jars, Italian glass jars. Maybe you can hear it. I love that sound. Charlize is a really wonderful skincare company that makes non-toxic serums, moisturizers, facial cleansers. A lot of these products that you get normally from the beauty stores that will irritate your skin or pump your body full of endocrine disruptors. I really like the Charlize line because the owner is very particular about which ingredients she uses in her products, and she's very particular about the packaging. So a lot of the skincare and beauty products that we get, ladies, it's usually comes in plastic. That's another endocrine disruptor. But these are all in Italian glass. So not only does it look nice and it feels nice, but it's also better for your skin in general. I use the moisturizer each morning before I put on makeup. And I like to use the daily facial cleanser at night to help remove some makeup. If I wear makeup that day, if I don't wear makeup, I don't even need a cleanser at the end of the day. But it really is luxury skincare that is going to nourish your skin rather than cause harm to your skin. So if you're a lady and if you're watching, listening, go to Charlie's Skincare and use my code Gina, Gina, for 20% off. That's a pretty good discount, 20% off. And if you're a guy listening, buy a little gift for the lady in your life. Maybe your wife, your girlfriend, your mom, any woman who can use high quality skincare. Charlize is really great for that. And of course, it's a really great bonus that she shares our values. So it's a win-win knowing that your money is going to somebody that shares the same beliefs and values as we do. And we can vote with our dollar. That being said, let's get into it. So first, let's talk about this news of the abortion pill. This is being called a landmark move, and CVS and Walgreens, two of America's largest pharmacy chains, announced recently that they're planning to begin dispensing the abortion pill, mifepristone, a crucial component in the regimen for medication abortion. So remember, there are two types of abortions. There's the medical abortion, there's a surgical abortion. The medical abortion is when you take a pill or two pills over the course of a day or two, and that's how the baby's life comes to an end. The baby's life is terminated, versus a surgical abortion when you have to go into the hospital and you have to get a DNC or something like that. This development comes in the wake of a pivotal rule amendment by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, in January last year, which significantly expanded the accessibility of abortion pills by enabling pharmacies to distribute them directly to patients, either in person or mail delivery. And so there's been a huge rise in telehealth appointments. A lot of women who are just signing online and giving their basic information to some kind of telehealth visit, and then boom, they get their abortion pills in the mail. Mifepristone, employed in conjunction with misoprostol, constitutes the first step in the two-drug protocol for medication-induced abortions. Until the FDA's recent policy adjustment, individuals seeking this type of medical abortion were compelled to obtain the medication in person from clinics, from hospitals, from medical providers in person. So this is a very recent development that in the last year and a half, little over a year, not even a year and a half, you have these women now who are able to receive the abortion pill in the mail, or now they can just go to CVS and Walgreens. This is a big deal in terms of how this is going to affect women's health. And we'll get into that in a little bit, because it is quite dangerous to just send abortion pills to somebody. The FDA's revised guidelines now mandate that pharmacies wishing to offer this drug must undergo a certification process, which includes fulfilling specific criteria, completing requisite documentation, a process that both CVS and Walgreens have successfully navigated, of course. So Walgreens has disclosed its intent to commence the distribution of this pill within a week at select locations across California, Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, all of these states that are not very surprising. All right. Conversely, CVS is in the preparatory phase still. So they're still coordinating with manufacturers and suppliers to procure the medication and make sure that they have it. And then they're going to start dispensing it in Massachusetts and Rhode Island in the forthcoming weeks. So the pharmacies have clarified that mifepristone will be available solely at their physical locations. Although Walgreens has already mentioned the future possibility of home delivery via courier services at select locations. And, again, this is being hailed as a really big, important step amongst reproductive health services, which is an oxymoron because there's nothing healthy about abortion care. It brings to mind that really famous photo shoot that Miley Cyrus did with the cake. And she said, abortion is healthcare. That's what the cake said. Abortion is healthcare. And it showed her licking the cake suggestively. And that was a really big cultural moment, because the more that you have these celebrities come forward and talk about their experiences aborting their own children, like Michelle Williams at the Emmys or Oscars, whatever it was, she received an award for acting, and she decided to go on stage and talk about the fact that she killed her baby when she was a teenager, and that human sacrifice is precisely what allowed her to get to the point of success in her career today. So moments like that, moments like Miley Cyrus and the abortion is healthcare cake, these are all intentional steps to normalize abortion and to make abortion more and more common. And so now we see this huge announcement with CVS and Walgreens. These are the places where if anyone has prescription medications, that's pretty much where they go. That's where I go to get my prescription medication. I have to take the shots during my pregnancy. I go to Walgreens. That's where I get mine. And, this is being called a landmark ruling. And it's probably only going to get worse from here in the sense that the abortion pill is only going to be more and more accessible. I wouldn't be surprised if one day it's going to be over the counter. You don't need a prescription. You find out, you're pregnant? Okay, well, why don't you just go to CVS and pick up the abortion pill? Women have become very desensitized to what the abortion pill does. I think that a lot of women, unfortunately, they don't realize what happens when you take the abortion pill. They think that you take a pill, you bleed a little bit, and the pregnancy goes away. The baby just goes away. 5 to 6 weeks of gestation is when most women find out they're pregnant. That's about a week after your missed period. So this is really usually the earliest that most women are finding out they're pregnant. By that point already, a baby's heartbeat can be detected and the baby's digestive system and lungs are already forming. That's pretty incredible. So by the time you even realize you're pregnant, your baby's heartbeat can already be detected. My first child, I heard her heartbeat when I was 7 weeks pregnant. At 8 weeks already, brain activity can even be detected as early as 8 weeks. And with the modern technology that keeps advancing and becoming more and more amazing, I think we're only going to see more and more activity in the body, in the brain, in the heart, in these very small babies in the womb as early as 5 weeks pregnant. So the abortion pill consists of 2 drugs. There's mifeprex and mifeprostol. I think mifeprostol. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is how it works. And I think every woman should understand how the abortion pill works. Because like I said, many women just think that you take the pill and it just kind of goes away. You just bleed. It's like a heavy period. I've heard women say online that it's not a big deal. You just take it and you just have some heavy bleeding. Okay, well, this is how it actually works. First, mifeprex blocks progesterone, which is an incredibly important natural hormone in your body that sustains pregnancy. Progesterone is known as the key mood and sleep stabilizer. So even before you're pregnant, it has very important functions in the body, but it's particularly important for pregnancy because it prepares the womb for pregnancy. It makes the womb a very warm, habitable place for the baby. And the baby needs progesterone desperately to grow and thrive, especially in those early weeks. After a certain point in your pregnancy, your placenta takes over the production of progesterone. So in the early stages of pregnancy, many women who have spotting, a little bit of light bleeding, their doctor will sometimes put them on progesterone because it helps them maintain the pregnancy and helps prevent the likelihood of an early miscarriage. Because at that point in your pregnancy, your placenta is not producing the progesterone yet. It's the rest of your body that's trying to produce enough progesterone. So if you have low progesterone as a woman, you're more likely to suffer from miscarriages and you're more likely to have hormonal issues in general, but we're talking about pregnancy in particular. So mifeprex blocks progesterone. That's the first pill you take. When you go home, you've probably seen, I wish I had the video, but by now you've probably seen that viral video of this girl who lives in New York City. She's a mom with a toddler and she posted this, it was just such a hard video to watch, this abortion vlog. And she set it to really happy, cute music. And she's like, have an abortion with me. That's how she opens up the video. Have an abortion with me. I really wanted to make this video because it's really important. And she shows the 2 pills that she got in the mail. The first is mifeprex. This blocks progesterone, which slowly starves the baby of the nutrients that he needs to survive and grow in the early stages of pregnancy. So when you take this drug, your progesterone levels are essentially halted. And that little baby in your womb, whose heart is already beating, who already has a digestive system, some lungs are forming, maybe even the brain activity can be detected by that point, that little baby starves and shrivels up. It's a very brutal way to die. And I know that a lot of abortion advocates are like, oh, well, they can't feel pain. It's just a clump of cells. Okay. I mean, do we know that they can't feel pain? I'm just a clump of cells. You're just a clump of cells. Imagine being starved in a womb, this warm place that you're meant to grow and thrive. All the nutrients have been sucked out and you're being starved and you shrivel up and you die. Now, it is important to note that at this point of the abortion process, it is possible to save the baby. There have been many women who realize that I actually don't want to do this. I don't want to go through with it. Live Action, the nonprofit led by Lila Rose, they do fantastic work on anti-abortion advocacy. They have told stories before of women who are like, oh, I actually don't want to do this. So they take the first pill and then they go to the doctor and they inject progesterone into their body. And that helps revive the baby because it produces all the nutrients and the warmth of the womb that the baby needs in order to continue living. So after you take Mifeprex and you block progesterone, your baby starves and dies. Then you take the second pill, which is mifeprostol. This causes heavy bleeding and contractions. And these contractions and this heavy bleeding will happen wherever the woman is, whether she's at the doctor's office, whether she's in the hospital, whether she's at home. She could be anywhere. She could be in her dorm room. Remember, a lot of college girls just go get the abortion pill. And so this is when she starts to see the pregnancy sac come out of her, containing the baby or identifiable baby parts. This is when you have to pass the baby in the toilet. Again, I don't think women realize that no matter how early or how late in your pregnancy you are getting an abortion, that baby has to come out of you. You have to pass the baby. You have to give birth to the baby. No matter how small your child is, no matter what stage of development they're in, this has to happen. The baby kit doesn't just stay inside of you, does not just disappear. It's not absorbed by the rest of the body or whatever misconceptions or myths that go around. This is the most horrific part of the abortion pill for many women because they essentially labor. They labor on the toilet. A lot of them get in the shower because the water can be a bit more comforting. And this bleeding can last on average anywhere from 9 to 16 days. 8% of women reportedly experience bleeding for more than 30 days. So it's a lot of bleeding. I know a couple of women who have taken the abortion pill and they say that they were shocked at how much they bled and they were shocked at what they saw in the toilet. They see parts of their baby. It's really horrifying. And this whole process is sterilized and sanitized in the media. And of course, it's sanitized by celebrities and influencers who are pro-abortion. Between 2000 and 2018, there were 24 deaths from the abortion pill reported, mostly due to infection or undiagnosed ectopic pregnancy. So this is one of the most dangerous things about the abortion pill being mailed to a woman or about a woman just getting it from a telehealth appointment. Because if a woman gets the abortion pill without going in for an ultrasound or going to see a medical provider, there is a chance that that pregnancy is not an intrauterine pregnancy. It could be an ectopic pregnancy. And that's a big deal. The abortion pill is not the treatment for ectopic pregnancy. Abortion is not the treatment for ectopic pregnancy. This is something that has been announced by the CDC many times. Go on the CDC website. Abortion is only a treatment for an intrauterine pregnancy. So whenever you hear people responding to anti-abortion advocates and they say, well, a woman's not going to get health care if she has an ectopic pregnancy, if abortion is outlawed in her state. That is simply not true because abortion is not the treatment for an ectopic pregnancy. It's very important to understand that for those of us who are anti-abortion, when you hear that argument come up, you need to shut it down immediately because, again, that is not how you treat ectopic pregnancy, which is why some women die from taking the abortion pill if they have an undiagnosed ectopic pregnancy, because a lot of times the symptoms can be similar in early pregnancy. Early intrauterine pregnancy and early ectopic pregnancy, they can have similar symptoms. So if a woman doesn't go in to get an ultrasound to make sure that the baby is in her uterus, then she could be mailed the abortion pill and she could die from it. And there have been deaths in the last 20 years from the abortion pill. And I think, unfortunately, because in the last year, we have now transitioned to telehealth visits where women get the pill mailed to them. I think in the next couple of years, we are going to see more and more infections, and unfortunately more deaths and more serious issues that arise from women who have been mailed or who have picked up the abortion pill without seeing a medical provider in person. In 2017 alone, 40% of all abortions were from the pill. So essentially like half of abortions are from the pill. And I don't know what those numbers are today. It probably is even higher because now abortion is so much more normalized. Women are like, oh, I got my positive pregnancy test. I don't want to do this. Send me the abortion pill. And Live Action estimates that 930 babies are killed every single day through the abortion pill. That's a very, very, very high number. That's a very high number. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the abortion pill now, just a quick overview of where the pill comes from, some of the controversies of the abortion pill. So the abortion pill was developed by this French researcher named Beaulieu. I don't know how to pronounce French names, but Beaulieu is his name. He worked closely with Gregory Pincus, who was the doctor responsible for the birth control pill, including when that pill was used as a form of eugenics in Puerto Rico for initial testing. So Beaulieu worked for a French company called Roussel Uclaf. And the pill was originally called RU486, RU for the acronym of the company that he worked for. And in 1988, the abortion pill was approved for sale in France. But at the time, there was a major controversy over the pill because back then, most people were pro-life. They could not imagine that a pill could just be handed out to women so that their baby would be killed in the womb. There were a lot of pro-life groups. There were a lot of churches that came out to protest. They were not happy about the fact that all of a sudden an abortion pill is going to be approved for sale. But there was also a really big controversy behind the company Roussel Uclaf. The majority shareholder of this company was called Hoechst AG, a German chemical company which emerged from the breakup of a chemical company called IG Farben. And IG Farben was famous for manufacturing a cyanide gas that was used in the gas chambers during that time in Germany. I can't say any of the words or any of the names, but you know what I'm talking about and you know who I'm talking about. New York Times previously reported on this. I think they reported on this multiple times, but you can look up the articles where the New York Times reported that IG Farben played a very significant role in you-know-who's war machine, okay? You know who is. I literally can't say his name because that's like, there are some words that are blacklisted on YouTube and his name is one of them. Anything to do with that time period in Germany is blacklisted. But the company was forcibly dissolved. IG Farben was forcibly dissolved because of the major controversy and the connection that they had with this time period and the deaths in Germany. So the company was then divided into 3 subsidiaries, one of which was Hoechst AG. And this is where the abortion pill RU486 came from. So the beginning of the abortion pill is said to be created as a poison to kill babies in the same way that that company produced poison to kill certain people during this time period. Protests made such a big difference during this time. There were so many protests around the country against the abortion pill that the company originally, they were like, okay, well, maybe we're not going to release it. So they decided not to, but then the government stepped in. The French government stepped in and claimed that it was a reproductive issue for women and it needed to be released because this belonged in the hands of women. So that's how it was released to the public of France. In 1993, the abortion pill came to the U.S. It was originally pushed by an attorney who served as co-counsel in Roe versus Wade, a man named Ron Weddington. And he is quoted as saying, "We don't need more poor babies." Doesn't that sound familiar? Sounds a lot like Margaret Sanger and all these other eugenicists who were involved in the birth control movement and the abortion movement. That's because birth control and abortion were originally and initially used as a form of eugenics, just in case you forgot. Ron Weddington believed that Clinton was the guy to bring the abortion pill to the US, and that's exactly what happened. Clinton lifted the FDA ban on the importance of the abortion pill and appointed certain people into office who would get the pill approved and ushered into the United States. So of course, there are eugenic roots to the abortion pill, just like the birth control pill. Beaulieu, the creator of the abortion pill, the creator of RU486, originally advocated for the abortion pill to be contragestive a once-a-month pill to replace birth control. And he said that women in the third world, that's his quote, women in the third world should be the, quote, main target of the abortion pill. Fast forward to today, and the abortion pill is still being used in testing amongst poverty-stricken areas. There's an organization called Gynuity Health Projects. I don't know if it's Gynuity or Gynuity Health Projects. They have initiated an innovative clinical trial known as teleabortion. So again, the telehealth abortion visits, that's across 13 United States. But they have ventured into international research territories, conducting a part of their trial in Burkina Faso, West Africa. Here, approximately 100 African women and girls, specifically those in their second trimester of pregnancy, that's after 13 or 14 weeks, are being included in the study. The second trimester is obviously a critical phase of the pregnancy where the fetus undergoes significant development, and they even start to, grow their hair and become much more noticeable as what we see to be babies. However, this period of the second trimester and being given the abortion pill in your second trimester escalates the risks associated with abortion procedures, including severe side effects like uterine ruptures, infections, and deaths. These risks are particularly concerning in Burkina Faso, a country that's grappling with extreme poverty and a lack of access to essential medical supplies, including blood products. So this shortage has exacerbated the potential for adverse outcomes in women requiring medical intervention during or after the abortion process. Many of these women have been dying from the abortion pill because maybe they have an ectopic pregnancy or infection or bleeding or whatever it is. But this health project company that does telehealth abortion all across the United States, they are running tests on more than 100 women in poverty-stricken areas of Africa. And they're handing out the abortion pill to these women. A lot of women are getting severe issues, severe infections. They're dying from it, and they're still handing it out as a part of some kind of study or trial. So just like the birth control pill was used as a form of eugenics, so is the abortion pill. That's just how it is. And it's so ironic that the left is constantly talking about this being such a great step in reproductive rights and human rights for women. It's like these pills are literally being used to kill women and to stop their bloodline. Yeah, that's a great win. Really, really progressive of you. Women today, especially in the United States, modern society here, they're unaware of the dangers of just taking the abortion pill at home, whether it's through telehealth visits or picked up from Walgreens. And the abortion industry promotes the myth that mail order abortion pills are just as safe as any pills prescribed under REMS. REMS is the Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategies, which is a program of the FDA. And this program is meant to monitor medications with a high potential for serious adverse effects. Well, REMS says it's perfectly safe to take the abortion pill at home. But like I said before, the ectopic pregnancy ruptures are a really big issue with a lot of women who are taking the abortion pill without seeing a medical provider. So the news of the abortion pill just being made available at Walgreens and CVS is a very sad thing. It's a very sad day. Obviously, for the innocent lives that are lost and brutally killed in the womb, but also for women and families in our society in general. Over the last couple of decades, but particularly in the last 10 years, even last 5 to 10 years, we've been witnessing the magic of something called the mere exposure effect, which is a psychological phenomenon where individuals develop a preference or a tolerance of certain things or concepts simply because they become more and more familiar with them over an extended period of time. So this effect demonstrates that repeated exposure to a concept like abortion increases our liking for it. You see the same thing happening with certain groups that want to target kids and their sexuality. Again, I can't say the names, but you know what I'm talking about. This is the mere exposure effect, where something like abortion is, it's shown to us in small little ways over the course of a long time so that we become more tolerant of it, we become more accepting of it, and we become more supportive of it. So with abortion, we went from being told that it was a procedure needed to save women's lives. It's not. That's a lie. There's nothing life-saving about killing a child in a womb. Like I've said on many of my past episodes, if a woman's life is in danger, especially in the third trimester of her pregnancy, there may have to be an early delivery, which may unfortunately result in the death of a child. But that is not at all the same thing as going into the womb and ripping the limbs off of a baby and then crushing the skull and then killing the baby. It's not the same. But we have gone from being told that abortion is needed to save women's lives to being told that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Remember that phrase? And then we were told that it's my body, my choice. If I have a uterus, then I have a voice and I have a choice. And then we're seeing all these viral TikToks and Instagram videos online of women taking the abortion pill and filming it like it's some kind of self-care entertainment video. And now the abortion pill is being sold at Walgreens. So this is the mere exposure effect. This is why the left has been so successful. The pro-abortion industry has been so successful at convincing women that abortion is needed and necessary and normal and common, because little by little, each step, we've been exposed to abortion and we've been taught that it's totally normal. Hopefully by now, with this podcast, you realize that I'm always asking the question, how can we create healthy, whole women in order to build healthy, whole families for a thriving society? That's really the question that I always try to ask with my podcast. I try to ask in general. I ask with my women's group. That's the question I try to ask. And when we see that the abortion pill is being made so readily available and easily accessible to women, it hurts my heart that so many women have been convinced that this is the way to achieve their dreams, to live out their full potential, to have a fulfilling life. This is why I always say that abortion is the most anti-woman thing in our society. And no matter how many celebrities tell us that they achieved their career and their Oscar because of their abortion, it will never change the fact that an abortion irrevocably changes a woman. And that little baby inside of her that she chose to dispose of will forever be her child, that she will never get to hold, she will never get to know, she will never get to nurse and raise. And a common response is that we are trying to control women's bodies because we oppose abortion. You hear the argument, no laws should govern our bodies. You can't control anything that my body does. Well, first of all, this is not about controlling anybody's body. This is about protecting the first and most sacred human right, which is the right to life, no matter how small that person is or what her location is or what her stage of development is. Secondly, there are laws that govern our bodies. This is something that is really hard for people to understand, but of course there are laws that tell you what you can do with your body. You can't do whatever you want with your body, particularly if your activities harm or kill another person, regardless of that person's location or age or stage of development. I used to consider myself pro-choice in the sense that I thought I would never get an abortion, but it's not my place to tell women to do otherwise. And I think a lot of women out there, regardless of political affiliation, I think a lot of women grew up to understand the sentiment and to say that, well, it's not my place to stop people from doing what they want with their body. But especially now, me coming over to the other side of this and understanding that there is nothing pro-women about abortion and that it harms women, it harms children, it harms families, I think that a few things will help women understand the true tragedy of abortion. Number one, we need to educate them on what abortion actually is, how brutal it is to the life in the womb, how harmful it can be to a woman's body and her mind and her soul. And two, I think we need to help them understand the true lasting empowerment, the fulfillment and reward that comes from stepping into motherhood fully, even and especially when it's not expected or when you feel like you're not ready for it. And that lasting empowerment and fulfillment is so much more meaningful and rewarding than any short-term fulfillment or short-term happiness that you get from disposing of your own child. And three, I think we need to remind everyone that there is always redemption and forgiveness available. And I think the language coming from the anti-abortion right sometimes is just so hopeless and cold and crass that it turns people away, particularly women. And I think at some point we need to admit that, yes, calling women hoes and much worse names is only contributing to the fact that so many young women are more likely to become liberal while young men are more likely to become conservative. That's a very concerning statistic. And it's ironic because this kind of language and this cold, crass treatment is coming from the Christian right. But as Christians, we're instructed to lead with grace and forgiveness. That's what Christ did on earth. That's what he told us to do. That's what the church does. That's what the church tells us to do. It doesn't mean we need to change our values or be too soft, but it does mean that we need to lead more with forgiveness and grace. And I think that there is a way to do that without giving up our values and without being too soft. I just think that we've gone too far in the other direction, where you get online now and you see a lot of these people on the right who are just, it's like they hate women. And it's okay to hate the act of abortion. It's okay to hate something that's evil. But I don't think that we're helping anyone come to our side, or we're helping anyone, even more importantly, come to Christ when we're acting in these ways that are not Christ-like. So those are just my thoughts on some ways that we can reach women when it comes to abortion. I think that there are a lot of women who have good intentions, who were a lot like me in the sense that, like, I was never pro-abortion, but I thought I was pro-choice because women think that's what you have to be in order to support women. And I think we need to show people that that's not what you have to be. In fact, like, you should not, if you want to support women, that's the last thing that you should be. And I think that there are more encouraging, hopeful, beautiful ways to show the empowerment of motherhood, especially, like I said, especially when you're not expecting it, and especially when you feel like you're not ready for it. And yes, of course, there is an element of personal responsibility. If you are having sex willingly, then you better be open to having a baby. That's what happens when you have sex. However, this is something that I also want to talk about, and then we'll finish with this. The abortion industry preys on women, sometimes just as much as, okay, not just as much, but it preys on women similarly to the way that it preys on children. Many stories from women I know personally, and I get messages from followers, I see stories online of women who say they had no idea what the experience would be like when they took the abortion pill. They had no idea how much they would bleed. They had no idea what they would see, that they would see their own baby in the toilet, and how horrifying and traumatic that would be. I know that this may be an unpopular opinion, but this is true, you guys. Women are also victims of the abortion industry. The abortion industry is predatory. It's financially backed in many different ways. And women are also victims of the abortion industry. Innocent children in the womb are obviously the first victims. Their lives are brutally ended. They're killed in the womb, in the one place where they should be the safest. But we have to also acknowledge that the abortion industry is predatory towards women. And I know we see the extremes online, the extremes of the shrieking women wearing t-shirts that say, I had 21 abortions, the blue-haired feminists who were at the marches and they say that a baby in the womb is nothing more than a parasite. But these images that we see, these are actually a minority of the women who opt in for abortions. There are many women, millions of women probably, who choose to get an abortion because they're scared, they're hopeless, they're coerced, and they feel like they have no other option. There are many moms, a lot of moms who already have children who opt in for an abortion because they feel like they have no other choice, whether it's because they don't have any help financially or they don't have any help familially. And I think we should be speaking more to these women. We should be connecting more with these women. We should be connecting more with their pain and their suffering, rather than just shouting online about how all women who get abortions are sluts. And Live Action came out with some with some statistics about this in recent years about how many women, the percentage of women who get an abortion that feel coerced by their husband or their boyfriend or partner, whatever it is, to get an abortion. And I know that a lot of men hear this and they're like, oh, women are just, they keep shirking personal responsibility. Okay, well, you can't have it both ways. Like, do you think that men are meant to lead? If you think that men are meant to lead, especially the head of the families, and that men naturally have a sense of leadership over women, then you have to acknowledge that there are a lot of men who lead their girlfriend or their wife to get an abortion because they don't want to have a kid. And I think that we focus too much on the extremes of these blue-haired feminists who are like, I got so many abortions, I'm so proud of it. Shout your abortion from the rooftop. That's not the majority of the types of women who are getting abortions. A lot of women who are getting abortions are just everyday women who are terrified, who feel like they have no help. And I know this is a very unpopular opinion amongst the right now, but I always ask, if you listen to my podcast, I'm always asking the question, what are we really trying to do here, guys? Are we really trying to help women and help grow families? Or are we just trying to yell at women online and condemn them and call them sluts and hoes and say that they're all evil? Because what are we really trying to do here? Because if we're really trying to help women and help families grow and prevent children from being slaughtered in the womb, I think we need to acknowledge that the majority of women who go in to get an abortion are not these crazy blue-haired feminists that hate babies. I think a lot of times they are just scared and hopeless. And it breaks my heart that a woman would get a positive pregnancy test and even consider ending that life because she doesn't have the support that she needs. It breaks my heart. And I think we should be asking the question a little bit more often of how can we support women more? And yes, I know, I fully acknowledge, I think it's great that conservative pro-life people are statistically much more likely to devote time and money and their volunteer efforts to women and families and children compared to leftists. That's great. I think we can always do more. I can do more. Even me, from a personal perspective, I'm like, I don't feel like I do enough for women and for moms and for families. We have to acknowledge that women are not really supported the same way now that they used to be in their families and their communities. Even the small example of my church, if a woman has a baby, bam, meal train. Everyone signs up. The church sends out a list. You sign up for a meal, you bring them a meal. So the woman's got a meal for a couple of weeks every day. Little things like that. There's a built-in God family in the Orthodox Church. You have the child's godparents, you have your own godparents, and you have these built-in God families that are there for you to help support you. And there have been times, even in my own church, where a woman gets pregnant before, the couple feels like they're ready for it. They have support. It's there. It's built in. And I think more women need that. I'm not saying that the choices they make is right. I'm not saying that it's justified to have an abortion. No, it's not justified to have an abortion. But I still think that it's better for us to ask the question, how can we support one another to where that is not even an option for women anymore? I don't even want it to be an option. I want you to get pregnant and feel like you have the support, even if it's going to be really hard. I don't even want that to be a thought in your mind. And I think the hyper-individualization of American culture is sometimes to our detriment because we're like, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The American dream, the white picket fence, you got to do it by yourself. My parents did it by themselves. My grandparents, we all did it by ourselves. Yeah, that's great. But again, this hyper-individualization and isolation of American culture is not helping anybody, particularly women, because our ancestors didn't live like this. We lived in high-trust societies, tight-knit communities, where we helped each other. The women showed up for one another. And now that's gone. And I know with modern society, it's harder to have those high trust societies, but it is absolutely possible my baby's kicking so hard right now. My goodness gracious. It's like, yeah, baby's definitely awake in there. But it's definitely possible to build these local communities and religious communities, particularly that support women and support families. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know if the baby's kicking because the baby's like, give me food. Maybe I'm hungry. Maybe I should go eat. But if you've been following my podcast, at the beginning of this year, one of my goals was to be more compassionate towards women who are struggling with thoughts of suicide or abortion or who are struggling with their feminist values. Like, I want to be more compassionate because I think it's going to help more women come to our side. So we have to educate, we have to be strong with our values, but we also have to be compassionate in the way that Christ is and was compassionate with us. We're called to do that, even though it's hard. It's easy to get online and yell and condemn and shame and call names. That's easy. Anybody can do that. You don't need Christ to do that. Anybody can do that. Being compassionate and giving grace and showing forgiveness and helping women understand that there is always redemption, there's always a way to turn their life around. That is hard. And that takes a commitment to God. And it takes a knowing, a knowledge of Christ. And it takes a lot of prayer and humility for us to do that. So I hope we can. That's where I'm going to end it today. This was a little bit of a long one. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. I am actually going to go for an ultrasound now. I'm going to go see baby. I'm really excited. Just praying for a continued healthy pregnancy and healthy delivery. So any prayers would be welcomed. And if there's any of you that you would like prayers for anything in your life going on, please let me know, because I do have a prayer list and I do pray for people that I say I'm going to pray for. So if you have any prayer request, please let me know in the comments, or you can DM me or whatever it is. Okay, I'm off. It's hot in here too. You know, you're always pregnant when you're hot. It's hot in here. Okay, bye everybody.